Okay, let's talk about how to actually get to the Sites app in Google. Now, this is a little bit of a different situation for us because currently there are two versions of Google Sites. And by default, you're going to go to the old version, and we want to be in the new version of Google Sites. So here's how you do that. Start by going to google.com in any web browser, preferably Chrome. Go to the top and find your waffle. If it says sign in, you're going to need to sign in first. Click on your waffle. That's going to give you all of your apps, your Google apps, and find the one that says Sites. Click on Sites, and that's going to take you to the old version of Sites. So you can see here, I don't make websites in the old Google Sites, so I have no sites here. But on the left-hand side, you'll see this new Google Sites. This is where all of my sites are housed because I used new Google Sites to build them. So if I click on that, that switches me over to the new Google Sites and shows me all of the Google Sites that we can access and work on. Okay, so from this point in the new Google Sites page, you will see all of your sites in order by the ones that you've visited recently. If you can't find the site that you're looking for to be able to edit, either A, you don't have editing rights to it, or B, you need to go up to the search bar up here and type in the title of the website. So when you first create a website, the first thing you need to do is give it a title. That's the title that you're searching for up here. All right, so to edit a site, just click on it. That'll open it up in edit mode and allow you to edit it right from there. It's pretty simple. Now, to delete a website that you've built, you can click on the little snowman and click remove. You also have the ability to rename it. And then to create a new website, come down to this little plus sign, and when you click on it, it's just going to go like instantly create the website. So watch, I click on it, it takes a couple seconds, boom, I've got a new website here. So the very first thing you need to do when you create a new website, come up here and title it something. So that way you can find it later, because once you start building a few different websites, it can be difficult to find the website that you want. All right, let's talk navigation in Google Sites. So across the top bar up here, you'll see this is the name of your site. And as you come across, you've got your undo last action, redo last action, and then a preview button. This preview button is very helpful because when you're looking at the site while you're building it, it's going to look different than what it actually looks like on a device when people go to the website. So this is your opportunity to check and make sure it looks the way you want it to look. So if you click on that preview button, it'll take you into preview mode. You've got three options for three types of previews. You can view it as a tablet, as a phone, or as a computer. When you're done previewing the website, you can click on this little exit preview button, and that will take you back to the editor mode. The next button across is once you publish your site, and we'll talk about publishing next. But once you publish your site, this is where you get the link that you can send out to people to get to the website. The next button over is sharing with others. I'm going to do another separate segment on sharing, but this is where you go to set up your sharing options and see who has access to your website. Then you have your settings options here. This is where you can go to add a logo. So, when you go to a website, like here I'm on a COVID-19 Facebook page here, you can see it's a Facebook page because it has the F here. Right? So you can add those logos, those favicons and those logos into your website to help brand your website. You also have some tools down here for what people can see about your website. Kind of a nice one is when the last time the website was updated. And then analytics is really cool. You can connect your website to Google Analytics and view, once you publish it, who's looking at it and why. And at the very top is navigation. This allows you to switch what your navigation bar looks like. So it can either be on the side of your website or across the top of your website. And you can put a color behind it. You can make it white behind your navigation bar. You can make it black behind your navigation bar. Or you can just make it transparent. So whatever color would be behind it will show through. So that's the settings. The next button over here, the More button, gives you the option to duplicate the website. So if this was a template and you wanted to duplicate it to edit it and add things, you can duplicate your website here. You can also view your version history to go back to before something was changed. The blue button allows you to publish the website. We'll talk about publishing, but basically you have two websites always. You have the draft version, which nobody can see except the people who have editing rights, and you have the published version, which is kind of like your published book version. And as you scroll down, you can see the three editing tabs here at the top for different ways to edit your website. In the next section, I'll go into a lot more detail on these sections, but for now, just know that the insert section allows you to insert content on the web page that you're currently working on. The pages section allows you to edit, remove, add, and organize pages on your website. And the themes tab allows you to set a theme that is universal across all the pages on your website. It's usually a color scheme and font scheme. Adding content to Google Sites is a fairly simple process, and it uses drag and drop principles. So if I come down here and I click on Insert on my editing pages here, it'll give me all of the options of things that I can add. Let's go over a couple of common things to add to your website. Probably the most common thing to add to your website is a text box. Click on Text Box to add a text box to your website. From this point, you can change the size of the text. You can change bold, italics, and then where it's located in the website. You can add bullets and numbers. You can make your text linkable. So if I wanted to link it outside of, almost like a button, outside of my website or to any page within my website, I can do that here. Or if you have copy and pasted from another website onto your website, this clear formatting will remove any hyperlinks, any odd text fonts, or anything like that from your text. The delete trash can deletes, and then under more editing options is your strike through if you wanted to have something crossed out, and you can actually add coding font in there as well. Now, once you have edited your text to say something that you want it to say, the next thing you need to do, or you'll be able to do, is move. As I said earlier, it's drag and drop. So to move things around, I hover over the element, which is my text box here, and then I will see two different spots that I can click and drag to move my element around. If I grab the middle one, I can move it up, down. I can put it up in under my heading on my home page here. I can bring it down onto my page, and the more elements you have, the more options you have for how you move your text around. Now you can see also there are some grid lines here, which I'm also allowed to move it left or right on my page to help with utilizing more and more of your white space. Next, we're going to talk about adding images to your page. There are a few different ways, but probably the easiest way is to just click on this image button and then select either upload, which will allow you to pull it off from your desktop, or select, which will allow you to grab it out of the Google icon search or even your own Google Drive here. So if I wanted to pull an image out of my Google Drive or my Google Photos, I could do that as well. I'm going to pull an image from Google Search, and I want an image that says Google. I search Google. Here are my options, some of the options that pop up under the Google search. I like this one, so I click on it one time, and you see this blue bar come up. Click Insert. Now that image has been added to my website. These blue dots allow you to edit the size and shape of your image. You have cropping features, or if, let's say I make this really small, now you can't see the Google, but if I click that uncrop, what it'll do is it'll make it fit into the space that I have made. So that's a really useful tool for making the image how you want it. Images can be used as links. Think of a link like a button. So if I click on this insert link, I can link it to any page within my page. Or if I type in a URL like www.google.com and click apply, now when my user clicks on this image that I put on here, it will send them out to google.com. You've got your delete image, and then the next option over is gives you more editing options. A really important one in here for you is this add alt text. If you want to make your website more ADA compliant, more user friendly for either students, parents, anybody who visits your website who might be using a text to speech software, just click on that add alt text. After you click on add alt text, what you're going to be able to do is type in something that the screen reader will read when it comes across that. So some people use a tool called a screen reader that will read everything on their screen. As they come across images, if you do not put alt text on, it'll skip it. This is really difficult for people who are visually impaired. So by adding an alt text that says something like image of Google linked to google.com and then clicking apply, you're telling the system when it comes across it what to say to the person who's using the screen reader. So then it'll come up to this icon and it'll say image of Google linked to google.com. Once you're done editing your image how you want it, they can be moved around just like any other element in Google Sites. I can move it up and down here. It's the only icon, it's the only thing I have on here. So right now it's just got a couple of ways I can move it. But if I want to put it here, I can move it there. If I click and drag to move it left or right, I can put it anywhere I want on my page. If I wanted to add text under my image, I could put my text box under it, and then I could adjust the text box to fit into that space by just dragging the text box directly under it. And you see the blue highlight underneath when I drop my text box. Now the text box and the icon are linked so that when I type in go to Google, it's linked right to it. Adding videos. Next, we're going to talk about adding videos to your website. To add a video to your website, there are a few different options. You can add a video from youtube.com by coming down here to YouTube, clicking on it, and then pulling that YouTube URL and just pasting it in here. You could also just search for a video. So maybe I want a video on Google. I type in Google and hit enter, and it's going to search YouTube for all the videos that pop up when I type in Google. So maybe I want to do this Google cancels all April Fool's jokes, and click select. Now it drops the YouTube video in, and I have a few different options under the settings here. Under settings, you can change the color of the progress bar. You can make it so that the controls are hidden and then appear when you hover over them. Or you can say whether or not you want them to be able to make the video full screen. To delete a video off, it's the same thing. You just click this delete title, or delete image, video, sorry. Another way to add videos, which is a little more secure, especially this is a very useful way to add videos if you don't want your videos to be posted to YouTube. All you need to do is drag your video into your Google Drive. And then once it's uploaded into Google Drive, click on Google Drive and then find your video in your Google Drive. So I put a couple videos for this example in under meeting recordings here. And I can click on this meeting recording video, double click on it, it drops it in. And now this video is not linked to YouTube, it's only on this website. So that's a useful way to put videos on a website without making them YouTube videos. Adding a button to your Google site can be done very easily. A button is just added by finding button under insert, clicking button, typing in what you want your button to be called. So this will be Google website, and then putting a link in. You could link it to another page on your website, or you could link it to any other website you want. So for this example, we have another website here that I'm going to link it to called k12eta.org. So I'm going to highlight the URL at the top, right click, and click copy. I'm going to go back to my Google Sites where it says link, right click, and click paste. Now when I click insert, I've got a button here that's called Google website, and it's linked to the K12ETA Association website. There are 3 button options: filled, outlined, or just plain text. You can choose one of those. The best way to decide is to go into the preview mode, look at how you like it. If it looks the way you want it to do, just add it in that way. To edit a button once you've added on, you can single click it and click this little edit button, or Another easy way to do it is double click on the button and it opens the edit button options. Buttons can be made longer and can be dragged around on your website just like any other element. Google Calendars can be added to a website. This is a really handy feature. If I wanted to add my Google Calendar onto this website, all I would need to do is click on this calendar icon, and it's going to show me all the calendars that I have access to. Once I find the one I want to add, I single click it. So let's say I want to add a calendar from my Google Classroom, and this is my Google Classroom. I single click it and click insert. What it'll do is it'll add the calendar, and you can pick how you want that calendar to be displayed by clicking on the settings. Now you can pick how it's shown in week mode or in month mode. Just a great way to add a calendar so that people know what's going on. Other things that can be added are maps. If you wanted to add a map, Google Docs can be embedded right in by clicking on Docs. It'll bring up your Google Drive. You pick the doc from your Google Drive that you want to add, and it just drops it right in there for you. Really, really handy for a lot of different uses here. Because now that my document is added, if I go into preview mode, and this is what it would look like on a cell phone. There's that document, and if the user clicks on it, and I have this document shared to the public, which I don't know that I do. Oh, I do. Okay, good. Then it'll open it so that they can see it, they can print it, and depending on what permissions you have, they could even make a copy of it and edit that copy. So leaving preview mode, that's adding a Google Doc. Again, they can be moved around, resized, reshaped, just like every other item. You can do the same thing with slides, sheets, Google Forms. This is a great way to put a survey on a website for people, and even charts. So if you have some graphs and charts and stuff made on a Google Sheet to show data, you can actually put your data right on your website. And if you do it using the charts piece, the charts component, that data will change when you change your Google Sheet. So thinking about linking a Google form to a Google Sheet, then in that Google Sheet, putting in a chart and adding that chart to your website. Now, as people fill out the Google form, the Google Sheet updates and the chart updates on the website so that people in real time can see what's happening. Adding pages in Google Slides is another simple drag and drop process. Under my editing tabs here, I'm going to switch over to Pages now. This is going to allow me to add and organize pages on my website. By clicking the plus button at the bottom, I can either add a new page on my website or a new link out of my website. So for this example, I'm going to add a new page. It's going to ask me what do I want to call it. I'm going to call it page 1. Now, I have two headers in my navigation bar at the top of my website, Home and Page 1. If I add another page, Page 2, I now have 3 headers at the top of my navigation page. This works really well for navigating until you reach too many pages at the top of your navigation bar. At that point, you'll want to start nesting your pages under each other. The way you do that is click and drag on one of your pages. For this example, I'm going to take my page 2 and I'm going to nest it under my page 1. So I will click and drag on page 2, and I can see I'm dragging it. I want to drop it directly on the page that I want to nest it under. By dropping it on page 1 now has a drop down arrow on my navigations for pages on this side and on my navigation at the top of my website. If I preview my website, I can see how that's going to look. In my navigation bar at the top, under page 1, if I hover over it, it drops down and gives me my subcategories under page 1. You can do this and keep nesting if you'd like. If I wanted to put a page 3 nested under page 2, I drop it in. You can see that because I was in the page 1 already, it nested page 3 under page 1 again. I can click on it and hold and drop it on top of page 2. Now in my navigation bar, I have page 1. Page 2 is then nested under page 1. Page 3 is nested under page 2. You can keep nesting as far as you'd like to go. At this point, when you're nesting pages under pages under pages, your website can get disorganized and difficult for users to use. There are a couple strategies when you get to this point. The first is to say, is this quality content? Do I really need it on my webpage? If you feel that you do, then you may think about starting to hide pages from the navigation bar. And the way you do that is hover over a page that you no longer want to be available on the navigation bar. Click on the three little dots, I call it the snowman, on the far right, and under that you have the option to hide from navigation. This means that the website can only be accessed by clicking on a link to it. So if you're going to do this, what you're going to want to do is start adding buttons to your website linking to that hidden page. To do this, click Insert, go down to the button, click Button, type in what you want to name it, and then where it says Link, just click on Link and find the page that you want to link it to. For me, that was page 3. Then click Insert. Now, if I hover over my tools up here, or my navigation bar up here, I can't find page 3. However, on page 2, if I click on this button called page 3, it will link my user to the hidden page, page 3. So hidden only means it's no longer available in the navigation bar at the top of your website. Another useful tool when creating pages is the duplicate page. Once you create a page that has a template that you like, the best thing to do, rather than rebuild it over and over again, is to hover over the page that has the template you like, find the snowman, click on that snowman, and then click Duplicate Page. It's going to ask you what to call it. For this example, I'm just going to call it Copy of Page 2 so you can see what it looks like. So now I have this copy of page 2, which is the exact same thing as page 2. The button's the same, it's linked to the same location. This is a great way to keep uniformity across your website when the layouts are not enough for you. Publishing your Google site is as simple as clicking the button Publish. But before you start doing that, let's talk about what publishing really means. Once you publish your website online, the exact version that you have that you're working on right now is made available to the public. So if I click on Publish, my unfinished website is going to ask me what the web address will be. So it tells me here that the website's going to be this first part here, sites.google.com/K12eta.org/, and then I get to pick that last section there. So I might call this Delete Me. But before you click on Publish, let's talk about these two options here. Number one is who can view my site, and number two is, will this site be visible with a Google search? So if you want search engines, so if somebody searches your website on Google to not show it, you can turn that on, and that means that only people with a link will be able to get to your website. The managing who has access to the website allows you to manage both pieces of your website. Remember earlier I said you have your draft and then you have your published version. Your published version is the one that really we're focused on. And by default, it's going to be set to anyone at whatever your business is can find and view the published version. That's going to block anyone who does not have an email address for your business. This can be both beneficial in the case of like only your students can get on, or it can be a problem in a case of maybe you want parents to be able to get in there and without their student's email address, they won't be able to access the website. So you decide how you want to share it. The most locked down version is the specific people can view, and then you can share it individually. Only the specific people you share it with will be able to view it. Click Save when you're finished, and then click Done. Now, when you click Publish, it's going to publish your website for you. To share it with people, up at the top here, find this Copy Published Link, site link. Copy that link and send that link to whoever you want to go to your website. Sharing in Google Sites works very similar to sharing any other Google app. So find the button at the top here that's the person with the plus sign and click on that to share. This will show you everyone who has access and what kind of access they have. When you're looking through your list, think about the draft version, who can edit your draft, and the published version, who can view the published version. But then who also do you want to be able to edit your website? There's a extra checkbox here which I feel is very important to talk about, and that is prevent editors from publishing, changing access, and adding new people. If this is a sensitive website and you want somebody to have quality control, make the person that has quality control the owner and check this box. What that will do is make it so that the people who have editing rights can edit the draft, but only the person who's the owner can publish the changes to the final website. So it has to go through that quality control management aspect. To share with an individual, you're going to click on this invite people and type in their name. It's going to ask you what kind of permission do you want them to have. They can either only view or edit. Those are the two options. And then it's going to ask you, do you want to notify them? If you check that box off, they won't know they have access. If you want to turn that prevent editors on, click that button and then click save changes. Now click OK and click OK to send it or to share it. Now I can see that this individual has editing rights to my website. Now, because this box is clicked, if he goes in and makes his changes to the draft, I have to come in and click publish before the changes are actually made to the finalized website that people access from online. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Hopefully it's provided you with some tools and some strategies for building your own websites on Google Sites. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe to catch more videos on using Google Apps for education.